What's good, everybody? It's your boy Nate Biggs. You already know what it is. All is one, all is well. What's going on today? We're gonna talk about a important topic. We're gonna talk about righteousness. That's right. We're gonna talk about righteousness and what it means to be righteous. You know, my definition of it, as far as what we can, utilize as references in our everyday sociological life as human beings on the planet Earth. Right. So, righteousness to me means that you basically, always have good thoughts and you do good deeds and you say good words, right? And you block out all the negativity, you know? And one of the forms of doing that is more or less, focus on these three simple principles. These three simple principles are, and we all know them: hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You feel me? Everybody's heard that before, right? In this day and times, our righteousness of everyone on the planet is being tested. There's been a conditioning on humanity that has made people become more unrighteous and do more, unrighteous deeds. And in doing so, it's created corruption, corrupting not just our social dynamics and our systems, but also corrupting humanity in the inside as well. So I feel, and everybody got stress out here. Our world is a stressful world. So it's hard to be righteous in a stressful world, especially when it's all linked up to your economics and your finances, right? And also, making sure you have, to feed yourself and your family and your loved ones, you know. So care. To me, righteousness is care. Care is also known as compassion. Righteousness, in a way, is also a way of what we call service to others versus service to yourself. When you're service to others, you basically are putting not them first per se. No, you're just having what is called empathy. You're seeing yourself in their shoes. So more or less, you're also seeing yourself in your shoes and you're evaluating and assessing the two to find a common balance. And if you see an imbalance, then you try to, do more to help that energy force of the other person come to a higher level. And in return, you'll get that in karma. Karma is, as a man reapeth, so shall he sow. Nah, it's as a man soweth, so shall he reap. But it's the same thing. It's all circular. It's one big circle. Feel me? Life is one big, ride. Like we start off as children, as babies, right, first, and then we can't walk. Then we get older as children and then young adults and adults. And then we become mature. Well, not everybody becomes mature. Some people just growing in age. Feel me? But now, more or less, the mind state and the mental and the physical body is supposed to, move at the same rate. What occurs though, I see a decline when we get older in our 50s, 60s due to, old age. We start going down the slope, right? And when we go down that slope in our 70s to 80s or whatever, that's when we're supposed to have acquired enough wisdom. And that wisdom is supposed to help us, be able to determine how to have righteous outcomes in the choices we make. So it's important to, gain wisdom as you get older. And knowing the outcome before you make the choices, wisdom. And that's how we maintain righteousness out here, with wisdom. Now, what occurs though with the body when we get older, we tend to lose our ability to do more physical, movements and motion. So our wisdom is supposed to help us protect ourselves in that manner. So they're like in the martial arts when you always see master teachers, they're always the elders, wise. Just like in any indigenous sovereign nation, the elders, they're the wise ones. Just like in a corporation, the board of directors, they're the ones that make the policy at the executive level. And most of them are very highly mature, older individuals that are supposed to have the ability to reason, right? Reason, logic, but also have the ability to have emotional intelligence or understanding how others feel and determine their psychological capability or competence to know if they have the ability to become a greater version of themselves for a greater purpose, for a mission that encompasses a vision. I look our world, that's why, it's more or less to me, it has a greater purpose. Life to me is experiencing this school of what we call third dimension. And righteousness is one of the tools that we use for this experience. Now, unrighteousness, the opposite of that, which is just negative polarity, which we would call evil, right? So righteousness is good, unrighteousness is evil, right? Supposedly balance, the yin yang principle at play, energy. So more or less, you want to always keep yourself balanced in the middle of situations and walk the middle path. The middle path is what leads us to maintaining control, right? That control is maintained through always being prepared for any situation or circumstance that you may encompass. And the situations and circumstances we encompass is what can lead to unrighteousness at times, because choices always have to be made. And a way of making a choice is supposedly through being focused on what outcomes that you want to see as a benefit, weighing the pros and the cons, right? You got to do that in life anyway. And you're always given those choices to make. And most of our choices have to be based on what's righteous, based on sociological and society norms. And that just means following law or being a law-abiding, what they call citizen, right? Now, the opposite of righteousness, which we call unrighteousness, which is the corruption, most people that dwell into, the underworld or the negative aspects of, unlawfulness or being outlaws altogether, meaning that, they observe themselves as having the right and choice of free will. Now, that's the thing that's important right now, the free will aspect of what it means to be righteous. Because we all have a choice to see evil, speak evil, or hear evil. Or we have a choice to block it out altogether, right? And only see the good, hear the good, and speak the good. Now, these both polarities of our consciousness, that yin yang within us, right? That right there is what basically is our control center in decision making. The control center in decision making starts here in your mind. So all factors outside of you are just visual representations of giving you an outlook on what outcomes look like. That's it. What outcomes look like that you've already projected in your mind and your thoughts, right? So when you're thinking in situations that stress you out, the number one key to maintaining your righteousness is patience. That patience that you gotta have. That patience to really, think things through. Not to jump with your emotions, with your physical body to, react in a certain circumstance because things in the outside may appear in a specific order. No. Remember, fear leads to bad decisions. And one aspect of fear itself is, more or less, false evidence appearing real, right, to our visual. When we talk about, the circumstances that could lead to unrighteousness, I'll give you an example. For all my people out there that watch Star Wars, y'all should be knowing what I'm talking about. And if not, then I suggest you go and look up Star Wars if you're not into what Star Wars is. But I know everybody out there is at a higher consciousness, and y'all all cool out there, so y'all know what Star Wars is. Feel me? And may the force be with y'all anyway. Peace. But listen, what in Star Wars, you had a scene that changed everything in that story, in that canon. And it's really the last movie, but it's like the last movie of the first movies. You know how they did it, where when they came out with it in the 1970s, they started the trilogy at the actually, episode, what is it, 4? And then they had episode 4, 5, 6. And then in the 2000s, right, they came out with, they rehashed everything, and it came out with the episode 1, 2, and 3. So episode 3 is when Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. Now, thinking about that situation is crazy. He was working off of fear. Go back and peep that. Because he feared that he was going to lose the love of his life, the Empress Padme. Feel me? Who bore him 2 twins. Feel me? These 2 children were, Luke and Leia. Very important to note, though, he couldn't deal with her being sick and losing her. So he thought that he could overcome death with the Force. And more or less, he wanted to achieve something that was really unachievable, to tell you the truth. Because more or less, the one that was giving him that suggestion, right, he basically was using and fooling him to his own premise. Dark Sidious, I think his name is, right? Who was, masquerading as a good guy at first, as an emperor, and acting like he was friends with Anakin. But more or less, he was just, waiting until he could get Anakin enough pressure through acting as if he had empathy for him, right? So there goes that situation that started out with Dark Sidious acting as if he was a friend to Anakin, and spending time with him, associating his problems with his own, having empathy and compassion, which was actually false empathy, right? Because more or less, it was basically narcissism. Dark Sidious was really trying to control Anakin, and he had to find out what Anakin, feared the most, and what was his weaknesses, right? So Anakin didn't understand himself. He was still learning. He was still, he became a Jedi, master, but he was still under Obi-Wan, right? And Obi-Wan was still trying to teach him and show him the righteous path based on, integrity as a Jedi master, which is just being patient. But Anakin was hothead, he knew how to utilize the Force. He picked up on it fast, a fast learner, right? And that led to him, feeling that he had more control than he really had. And so he wanted to exert his, energy into controlling the outcomes of situations based on what he thought was righteous, instead of following what the Council of Elders or the Jedi High Council said. And, that's when all the negativity started. Because now Anakin was using fear and hate. You feel me? And even Yoda talks about that, who's the elder of all the Jedis in the movie. It's really deep. You know what I'm saying? But more or less, you can't have fear. False evidence appearing real. The thing about Anakin, turning into Darth Vader, is he let his fears make him make bad decisions that even led to the slaughtering of the young children who were Jedis. And once he did that, there was no turning back. There was no going back to the light. But the thing that was crazy is, eventually we know, for spoiler alert for those that never watched Star Wars, but I know a lot of y'all did, for reals. And if you did it, go learn it. Feel me? More or less, in the end of Return of the Jedi, right? Episode 6, you'll see Darth Vader do something where he sacrificed himself by taking out the one that got him down the wrong path. You feel me? The Dark Sidious. So he had to face his fear. Darth Vader had to face his fear, and he had to, he had to learn his lesson. He had to learn his lesson. He never knew about Luke and Leia. Emperor never really even told him he had. And the Emperor always knew about it. Because, in the new movies, spoiler alert, you get the understanding. But those movies just talked about human nature regardless. And we can reflect on the same aspects of the Force in our everyday life. That Force we call the Most High, God. And if y'all watching my shirt, I got a message for y'all. It says God is undefeated. Think about it. Why I say that? Because we all still breathing. Feel me? The world is still existing. Feel me? Even when the world, we ain't here, one day we going to move on to the next plane, the world's still going to be here. Feel me? So, more or less, God is undefeated because existence is God. And anything that doesn't exist is not. Well, that's my rationale. So, more or less, where we're at is understanding how to maintain righteousness in a world that's becoming unrighteous. Feel me? So, like I said, the visual representation of false evidence appearing real, which is fear, is what gives us the wrong impression of suggestions to make us make unwise decisions, which are based on emotion, not controlling our emotions. When we don't control our emotions, we jump to, being irrational. And when we do irrational things, and after we calm down, remember, fear causes what is called fight or flight. And it's all different body reactions within that take place, right? So like with our endocrine system, when we start feeling that, fear, someone scares you, right? You jump to conclusion to either freeze or run, Most of the times you jump back, your body reacts, jerks, and then your mind has to, pay attention to the whole aspect of what's really happening. In martial arts and jiu-jitsu, what we call that, in understanding patience through technique and how to engage in defense combat, is broken down in these 3 principles. These 3 principles are shape, focus, and tempo. First, you have to see the shape of things, the attack with your eye. You understand, having the eye to see, right? The focus of your eye, to focus the attack. So you see the shape of the attack of what's happening. Then you see the focus. You focus in on the little details. Call it in the military attention to detail, right? And then you see the tempo of the speed, the energy of what's happening outside of you. Then with that, you flow with it. You don't go against it. You flow with it. That's wisdom. That's how you maintain righteousness and balance. You dig? Now, when you go against it and you try to use force to meet force, there's a chance that your force may not be stronger than the impact of the other force. How it's broken down to me by my senseis is basically, if someone is coming with you with the force of 7, and you only have the force or the power of or a force of 3, you don't want to engage with that force of 7, because of course the force of 7 is going to roll over the force of 3. So what you do is basically you combine that 7 with your 3, and you use that 10 to move it where you want it. See what I'm saying? You control it. So if someone's coming to you with an attack, what do? Simple. You basically watch the shape, watch the focus, watch the tempo, right? Then you go with the flow of the attack. But you control and you lock the energy of your opponent. You hold that opponent. You understand? You move with that opponent. You flow with that opponent. It's the yin yang. When you see the yin yang, you see the circle. It's a spiral. You see the forces, energies. They're spiraling, right? And that spiral effect is what you have to take note of. That spiral effect is what basically you have to flow with. Because inside of you, in your soul, you're a spiral being. Your energies, you can feel it inside when the blood rushes in and out your heart. When it's spinning, blood is spinning in your heart through your arteries and your veins. You understand? So everything in you is a spiral. You feel that energy go up your stomach, from your stomach and your gut. You know that fear you get? Feel that in your stomach area. It goes up, then it comes down. See what I'm saying? Everything is moving in energy. It's motion. Energies of motion are emotions. So you control your emotions, your energy in motion, and you control it and you will it based on the outcome you want to see. You understand? And you got to focus on it. And that's where meditation comes in. That's where every day you give 10 minutes to yourself of silence and inner thought. You can do it with your eyes closed or your eyes open to music. You know what I'm saying? In different forms. Just find what relaxes the body and calms the mind. That's it. Relaxation of the body and calming of the mind gives you more control. You understand? Because remember, all of this is it's a test out here to have more control over yourself. You know, right now our world is moving into where outside forces are trying to control yourself. So if you can't control yourself, they will. You understand? So you have to be in control and focus at this point. Righteousness has to be the key, because if you do anything unrighteous, you can get yourself in trouble. You can hurt yourself unwarrantedly, or you can even get yourself locked up. Feel me? Lose resources. Nah, we ain't gonna do that. You know what we all gonna do out here? We're gonna win. We're gonna win by building ourselves up, being strong. You understand? Staying beautiful, not worrying about nothing, and getting cake. You feel me? Because success is the key. You understand? And righteousness to me leads to success. You understand? I look and I evaluate my choices in past life, through this life. And what I've realized is this. When I've done unrighteous, it comes back in karma. As a man reapeth, so shall he sow. And as a man soweth, so shall he reap. Remember that. It's all spiral. It comes back. So with that being said, I think we went through a good message of how to stay righteous in these unrighteous times. And remember, we see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Feel me? So we're going to do out here. That's how we're going to maintain righteousness, my people. We're going to do that by staying strong. And with that, I would say, you know, I want everybody out there to elevate, be their strong power. All is one, all is well. Nate Biggs, holding it down. Catch you on the next ride. Peace.